Hey everyone, it's Amanda here, bringing you part two of the Building Your School List workshop. Um, for those of you that have watched part one, we focused on kind of introducing the idea of building your school list, including the financial considerations that you may want to take into account, as well as the amount of time and effort it takes to complete all of the components of the application process, and then touch very briefly on why the apply everywhere strategy doesn't work and why narrowing that list a little bit from the very beginning is helpful. So today's section, part two, we're going to focus on defining competitiveness and then using mission statements and other important information to consider as you're building the school list out. In part three, Laura will talk to you about numbers, specific numbers, and using your numbers, your GPA, and your admissions test score to continue to narrow that list and determine fit for schools and competitiveness for schools. So when we are considering competitiveness, it really comes from two places. One, that set of numbers that we really want you to have going into the application cycle, right? That definitive application service calculated GPA, cumulative GPA, and then science or prerequisite GPA, and then also fit for schools, right? And fit comes from a lot of places. The first thing that we're going to focus on is using a mission statement to kind of determine what the school's goals and missions are and how those align with what you're hoping to do as a professional in the future. But there are so many other things that kind of go into fit that we want to touch on too that students often might not think about. So each medical school handles things differently, right? They review applications differently. The way that they approach the application review might be different. Their orientation, their curriculum delivery, and the way that they educate their professional students, what their attendance policies might be. So making sure that you are happy at the school that you end up deciding to go to or that you're admitted to, so that you're not worried about additional things on top of being stressed because of the rigor and the demands on you as a student is really, really important. So we're going to look at the importance of mission statements, values, and philosophy statements, as well as the other stuff that students will take into consideration when making that school list or investigating schools. And I'm going to start with mission statements first because mission statements can tell us a lot about the opportunities that schools may offer or what the focus of the school is in kind of bird's eye view as they're educating their students. And so I've got three different mission statements here that I want to take a minute to read and look at, and then we'll take some time to look at the differences and what that tells us about each of these schools. Excuse me. So the first mission statement is from the Wayne State School of Medicine, which is we will educate a diverse student body in an urban setting and within a culture of inclusion through high quality education, clinical excellence, pioneering research, local investment in our community, and innovative technology to prepare physician and biomedical scientific leaders to achieve health and wellness for our society. Lots of words in there that you may identify with. The second mission statement I want to take a look at is Michigan State University's College of Human Medicine, which reads Michigan State University's College of Human Medicine is committed to educating exemplary physicians and scholars, discovering and disseminating new knowledge, and providing service at home and abroad. We enhance our communities by providing outstanding primary and specialty care, promoting the dignity and inclusion of all people, and responding to the needs of the medically underserved. So hopefully in listening to that, you were able to pick out some pieces that really differ from Wayne State's mission statement. Third, we have CMed, so Central Michigan University's mission statement, which reads the Central Michigan University College of Medicine educates diverse students and trains culturally competent physicians to provide comprehensive healthcare and services to underserved populations in Michigan and beyond. Our faculty, staff, and graduates advance health and wellness through exceptional education, innovative research, quality patient care, and strategic collaborations to improve the health and well-being of individuals and communities. Again, hopefully you're able to pick out one or two words that are kind of different there. All in all, though, all three of these sound pretty similar in what they're aiming to do. But when you take a closer look at some of the specific wording, you notice that Wayne State highlights their urban setting, which is something that the entire university really does play up in a lot of their advertisements, right? The focus on the words clinical excellence, again, something that you're hearing from multiple programs at Wayne State. Um, Pioneering research, that choice of pioneering, right, really makes you think of like the first to get there, right? And then investment in the local community. And we know that that's really important to a variety of programs at Wayne State. Where MSU talks about service not just at home, but also abroad. So you know that there's more of a global component to what they have to offer their students. They highlight primary and specialty care. So highlighting the fact that they're educating medical students beyond the primary care setting, discovering and sharing new knowledge instead of just pioneering, right? So that different word there. And then focusing in on the medically underserved, where CMED focuses on really kind of that idea of educating culturally competent, so the importance of that cultural awareness, and highlights underserved populations in Michigan, which may very well relate to the fact that Central Michigan University is the furthest north of all of the Michigan medical schools, and therefore servicing some of those smaller communities in the upper part of the Lower Peninsula and Upper Peninsula. Um, they highlight strategic collaborations, so making note that they do value partnerships that they have with various groups that make their curriculum successful, and then do mention research. Right, we think it's important to really pay attention to sentence structure and adjective choice because we think that those are selected strategically. And the order in which things are listed also will emphasize how important medical schools think certain things are, right? Clinical excellence being very high up in Wayne State's School of Medicine's mission statement, right? Service at home and abroad, again, being the first thing that Michigan State mentions. And then again, that cultural awareness or cultural competence in CMED, right? So paying attention to the order that medical schools talk about things in their mission statement and the adjective choices that they're using and looking at what resonates with you, right? If being in an urban setting isn't as important to you as maybe serving medically underserved, then Michigan State and CMED may be a better fit for you ultimately. Just because you went to school at Wayne State doesn't mean that Wayne State School of Medicine is going to allow you to be educated in the way that you're hoping to serve future patients. So, looking at mission statements is very important, right? And picking up those words and those phrases that you really resonate with what your future goals are. There are other stuff about medical schools that's also very important to take into consideration. One of those things being class size, right? Class size is important because it's directly related to that teacher to student ratio and important in your comfort level as a student. Do you feel more comfortable in that lecture hall setting? Or are you looking for smaller class sizes so that you aren't as maybe overwhelmed asking questions, right? Wayne State versus OUWB, for example. Wayne State's incoming class is around 300 students. So it's a 299 other students that you are going to be, interacting with, where OUWB has an incoming class of 125. So does one of those situations sound better to you? Does it sound like it'll make you feel more comfortable embarking on this new journey? Right? Curriculum delivery is also really important. Thinking back to the classes that you've been most successful in during undergrad, how are those taught, right? There are a variety of curriculum models that medical schools will talk a lot about as you're attending kind of some of their information sessions or admissions days, right? Michigan State University's College of Human Medicine uses that shared discovery curriculum. There are schools out there that use more of a project-based learning model where you're placed on small teams and given some kind of project that you're used to work on. And as you're doing that, you're learning various concepts and topics, right? Is online learning something that you're interested in? Some medical schools don't require that students come to class, and all of the lectures are available online. How did you do with online lectures during COVID? Did you feel like you were retaining things as much as you should have or understanding things? Was there an opportunity for you to clarify information that you didn't understand if you were in an online situation, right? Moving on to those attendance requirements. Is attendance required? Are lectures recorded, offered online? If attendance is required, right? Like, is there an absence policy? Right? Other things to consider in terms of curriculum are the school system of evaluations, right? Are they using grades versus pass fails versus rankings? Thinking about, again, kind of how you handled receiving grades in the past, and what is going to continue to motivate you to learn your curriculum and be a good student in the future is really important. Engagement opportunities are also something that you may want to take some time to do some research on. When you get to medical school, you'll start all over again in building your resume as you begin to prepare to apply to residency in your fourth year, right? So, what are some of those engagement opportunities that the School of Medicine has affiliated with it, or it can be found in the local vicinity, right? Are there some student orgs that you're interested in being involved in? Are there co-curricular programs or opportunities? Are there opportunities for leadership or research that you know from your experiences as an undergrad that you're really going to seek out once you get settled into medical school? So one of the great ways to investigate some of those options is to take a look at the medical school's social media accounts, their Instagram accounts. Who else are they following that's affiliated to the School of Medicine, and what are those groups doing, right? Examples of things that Wayne State offers is uh, the Detroit Street Med team, right? Cass Clinic, Amigos Medicos, those free clinics. A lot of the medical students are participating in those. Other things like the orchestra, the Wayne State School of Medicine, there's a group of students that have an orchestra that performs on a regular basis. Are there opportunities for you to do those things that you're interested in that you can continue to engage in as almost stress relief as you're in medical school, right? What do the support resources look like, right? Are there health and wellness support resources available to you as a student? And how accessible are those? What do the academic and career counseling resources look like, right? There's a lot of schools that do have individual offices very similar to our Academic Success Center that are set aside to support students through learning as a medical student. There are also separate offices that help students begin to explore those different specialty options and what the road to becoming a specialist in certain areas look like. Is student disability services something that you accessed as an undergrad that you'd like to continue to access as a medical student? What does that look like? What does that onboarding process look like? So investigating those level of supports too, especially if you use those kinds of things as an undergrad, would be really important. And it keeps going, right? Um, where are the majority of the clerkship sites located? So clerkship is something that starts in the third year of medical school typically, and it's rotations, right? It's a medical student or cohort of medical students rotating through various practice areas like primary care, OBGYN, anesthesia, surgery, right? To get a feel for each of those areas, to learn the ins and outs of each of those areas. Some medical schools don't have clerkship sites that are located right on their campus. And so it does require medical students to find transportation to and from those clerkship sites, right? So where are those located? Do you need to have a vehicle or potentially relocate to get through those clerkship rotations, right? What are the elective opportunities that are available during clerkships? A lot of times clerkships that continue on into fourth year, students will have the opportunity to do some elective options to explore some additional specialties. What does the school offer that you're interested in potentially studying? Right. And then residency and match history of specialty areas that graduates have matched in before can also be really important. What's the overall match rate? Is it close to 100%? What are the history of specialty areas that graduates from the medical schools that you're looking at have matched in the past, right? And all medical schools are going to keep that data likely somewhere on their website so that you can take a look at, what are the schools that are having a high rate of match in surgery? What are the schools that are having a high rate of match in anesthesia? So on and so forth. These are things that further down the line, you may want to consider as you're making your school list. I would start with when we're looking at the non-quantitative things, the qualitative components, I'd start with the mission statement first, and then maybe some of those curriculum ideas before getting to looking at things like residency and clerkship placements. Just because you want to make sure the overall fit for school aligns with what your goals are. So as a wrap up, after watching this, you should have a better understanding of how to use the mission statement, mission, vision, and philosophies, as well as the additional information that medical schools provide to assess your fit for schools. Again, in part 3, Laura's going to talk to you about using those hard numbers, that verified GPA, and that MCAT or DAT or GRE score to assess your fit for schools in your list. So hope this is helpful, and everybody have a great rest of your day.